Hello again. I'm pretty sure that nobody would be likely to accuse me of having any hatred or even negative feelings towards Islam. I've prayed in mosques as I have in churches, temples and synagogues, and I've got no problem at all with Islam. I do have a problem, though, with the way that the establishment in Britain and the police treat Islam differently from all other religions in the country, according it a particular respect and consideration which is not extended to other religions. I have noticed this happening increasingly over the years until we reached a point last week when this reverence for Islam meant that the police in the English city of Leicester were aiding and abetting criminal acts of religious hatred rather than upset Muslims. I have mentioned before the riots in Leicester, which the newspapers and television in this country seem so reluctant to mention. I observed too in a previous video that the Chief Constable of Leicester doesn't even want to admit that Muslims are behaving in an outrageous and aggressive fashion motivated by religious hatred because, like so many people, he doesn't want to say anything critical of Islam or Muslims. So it was that when an angry mob of Muslims surrounded a Hindu temple in Leicester the other day and began vandalising it, putting down flags and so on, the police stood by and let them get on with it. The thumbnail to this video shows a young Muslim tearing down a flag at a Hindu temple in Melton Road in Leicester. A large line of police witness this outrageous act of religious hatred and yet do nothing at all. In the description to this video, I give a link to a clip of film which shows this incident. The Chief Constable of Leicester couldn't even bring himself to admit that this was an assault on a Hindu temple. He spoke vaguely instead of a religious building. The reason for this evasion is simple. If he had said that it was a Hindu temple, we would at once know that the mob surrounding it were Muslims, and that would show Muslims in a poor light. Here is a genuine question. When there are unpleasant incidents involving mosques, for example, somebody leaving a pig's head outside one or throwing bacon at it, daubing graffiti and so on, can anybody remember the police being reluctant to say that it was a mosque which was attacked? Do they in such cases talk in a neutral way about a religious building? Of course not. They are on the case at once in defending Muslims from hate crimes. Here's another question. If a large body of police were present when a mob of white people, say members of the English Defence League, surrounded a mosque and began vandalising it, would the police just stand by idly as they did when it was Muslims attacking a Hindu temple? We know that they would not, and that fierce efforts will be made to deal with the vandalism. Now watch the link I give and see how the police react when Muslims are attacking a Hindu temple. They do nothing at all. They just stand there and watch. For some reason, everybody in this country tiptoes around Muslims and treats Islam as being an especially important religion. Mosques must at all costs be protected, but Hindu temples can be left to the mercy of a mob. Why is this? Is it because Hindus are almost invariably peaceful and respectable and unlikely to start charging around, cutting people's heads off or planting bombs? Why is it that we have in effect reintroduced blasphemy laws in Britain, but only where Islam is concerned? Cinemas are bullied into removing a film which Muslims object to, and a schoolteacher is forced to go into hiding because he's upset some Muslims. I have an enormous reverence for Islam, just as I do for Christianity, Hinduism and Judaism. But it's nothing special as far as religions go. Why are we in Britain so fearful of upsetting Muslims or criticising Islam?